lead, but then all of a sudden the Wizards went cold. And Sticks, I'm going to start with you. What did you see from the Wizards that allowed this team, the Raptors, back into it and eventually for the win?
You know, I think it was the turnovers. The turnovers were key. They were turning the ball over in the odd lineup that they had out there. With no Robin Lopez, they turned to Anthony Gill. So basically, you had 1 through 5 being small players out there. And really, you called it, Justin. You said, ice cold doesn't begin to describe how the shooting was. And that's exactly what happened. They could not buy a bucket. They were trying to get to the rim, to the free throw line. Westbrook was trying to will this team to the win, to limp across that finish line. But right here you see Gary Trent Jr. knocking down that three-point basket. It just was not the Wizards' time.
Tony, let me ask you this question, because you see that last bucket and you're going to say, all right, it's a push-off foul and it wasn't called. But if you're the Wizards, you're not looking at that. What are you looking at instead?
Well, I mean, it's hard not to look at that. I mean, there's a push off there, but clearly you know that there's a limited amount of time, so you have to make him give the ball up. You got to play defense on him and force him to give the ball up in a way that makes it somebody else to take the shot, because Gary Trent Jr. was the best shooter left in the game at that point.
Guys, a heartbreaking end. You said it yourself, Drew, kind of like the reminiscent of the NCAA games. Well, this one hurts. It hurts because we were right there, right within it. But we're going to tell you how we can move on from this when Postgame Live starts in a moment.
Deep beneath this region flows water so precious, naturally filtered. For a crisp, refreshing taste, discover Deer Park 100% natural spring water.
With print and play games, including Rolling Jackpot from the Virginia Lottery, you could turn your tickets into instant cash. We're talking the chance for a major payout at lightning speed. So if you want to rocket your way toward instant wins, race inside right now to check out Print and Play and Rolling Jackpot for yourself. Players all over Virginia, from the mountains to the coast, want to...
Started. He had a 3. Davis hit a 3. Garrison Matthews got activated. Then all of a sudden, no Garrison. Wizards had a 19-point lead squandered. Then, as you said, Wes, you get to the fourth quarter, and then the team just goes ice cold. And the reason why they went ice cold, poor shot selection and bad turnovers at the wrong time. That was the recipe for giving Toronto, who didn't have their starting backcourt available tonight, a team that had lost 13 of 15, confidence. And when you start giving teams confidence, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, these guys are NBA champions. Aaron Baines is hitting threes. Then all of a sudden, Gary Trent Jr., who actually got hurt earlier in the game, comes back in and hits that game-winning shot. This was a tough loss for the Wizards, and I told you in the pregame show, Wes, this was an important game because you need to get off on a good start on this long road trip. And this is unfortunate the way the Wizards let this one get away.
Absolutely right, Chris. And Sticks, when I look at it, I'm looking at this box score right now, and we had 6 scores in double figures. That's a thumbs up. How Neto had for himself. And you would think with that kind of output that would be enough to get this win on the road down in Tampa against Toronto. What was it about that fourth quarter, in your opinion, that just the Wizards couldn't seem to find their way back on track?
Well, I think Chris said it. The offensive flow, the timely turnovers, the shot selection. I mean, when you have Anthony Gill getting inserted into the lineup because Robin Lopez can't be out there with the quad tightness, that messes things up. You've got a small lineup up out there that you haven't played 5-on-5 with. Really, you haven't played 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 with, really, due to practice time. So going out there, you kind of don't know where everybody's going to be. It's that chemistry aspect of the game. But it was just a tale of two halves. The first half, great shooting, great offensive movement. Defense was key in that first quarter. Start the game off with a 12-1 start. Like, that's a great start. You want to see that throughout the entire game. But that third quarter, and especially in the fourth quarter, things got tighter. You didn't really know where people were on the offensive end. Defensively, you couldn't get back in transition because you were turning the ball over and giving them easy layup opportunities. But it was just not a good night for the Wizards in that third and fourth quarter. If you take that first half and you bottle it up and channel it into the second half, that equals a win.
Tony
They
Massenberg.
need to do that more going into Orlando.
Sorry about that, Jason. Yes, speaking about Orlando and how we're going to be able to bounce back for that game against the Magic, the same question has to be asked tonight that's going to be asked for that game, which is Tony Massenberg. Alex Len has to come in and pretty much carry the load. Daniel Gafford out. Robin Lopez leaves with quad tightness. When it's all left to him, to the fact that you have to go to Anthony Gill deep down in your bench, what type of pressure does that apply on a guy like Len who's got to come back in and pretty much carry the load most of it himself?
Well, that's part of being a professional. You don't have to get ready when you are ready. When you look at what Alex Len was able to do tonight, took advantage of his size. You saw him block a couple of shots. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at the defense. And I talked about this in the pregame show. Everything's been predicated on offense with the Wizards. But what I saw, outside of the great shooting that the Wizards put out in the first half, the defense in the second half was not where it needed to be. And the real testament to that, combined with the turnovers, the Raptors outscored the Wizards 64-34 in the paint. What does that say? That says that the Raptors, despite shooting the ball horribly from the three-point line, they got it done within the three-point line. And not just within the three-point line, they were getting buckets in the paint. 64-34 is a tremendous disparity, and it says that the other team is getting layups. And when you get layups as a player, and Sticks knows this, it gets your confidence going. And that's what we saw. The Raptors got more confident in the second half than they ever did in the first half. And that ultimately, combined with the Wizards' turnovers and not getting three-point shots going down like they were in the first half, everything started to tighten up. The defense in that fourth quarter, I cannot stress enough, was the difference between the win and the loss.
I know, and what's so crazy about this is the performance that Russell Westbrook has again tonight. We talked about it during the pregame, wondering or not if he'd get his 19th triple-double on the season, and of course he did it. Going out tonight, doing what he does. Russell Westbrook thinks 23 points, 14 rebounds, 11 assists. He was 1 assist shy of a triple-double in the first half. The first half.